Oh, great. Thank you so um, which is absolutely brilliant. Uh, my microphone. Okay. Um, okay, I think I'm okay. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to put up an agenda on the screen, which you should be able to see now, hopefully. Um, and basically, um, just a little bit of housekeeping. First of all, welcome, welcome. It's all great to see you all. Bit of housekeeping. If there's any noise in the background with you, please use your mute button on and off. But if you want to say something, then say it. Um, Coach Jeff and I are going to have a 15-20 minute chat about these challenges. And if you want to ask a question, certainly you can get into chat and you can type out the question and we can get back to that. But seeing as there isn't heaps and heaps of us here, I mean, if you've got an absolute desperate question, just dive in and ask it, Coach Jeff. That's okay, isn't it?
That's fine.
So sort of tell us your name and where you're from. I've got a lot of places of where you're from. It's always good to know where you are. And with further ado, shall we start? I think I've got the setting where anyone joins, they automatically join. But if it's okay with everyone, Jeff and I will just start. So, Jeff, thanks for joining us, Coach Jeff, from Limitless Pickleball. More about that later. But we had a pretty good session with advanced beginners, and this is now our session with low intermediates, which is a sort of 3.0-ish, I guess. Is that right, Jeff?
I would say so.
Okay. 3.0. But I think these things are a little, a little flexible, and we're not too fussed if you're one up or one down from that. But we're looking at around about low intermediates. And I asked Jeff, look, what are the five biggest challenges for low intermediates? And he came up with this list here. So we're just going to go through that. Obviously, if you have your own challenges, do make a little note of them, and do keep them for later, and we'll chat them and we'll open it up to questions and answers, and we'll take it from there. Hope that's okay, everyone. Okay, absolutely brilliant. So, number one, Jeff, a lot of people they just swing too big everywhere on the court. Is that right?
Yeah, one of the things I find is people depend too much on their arms and not enough on their core and on their legs.
Okay.
When I'm teaching students, one of the first things I try to teach them is that their paddle should be connected to their feet. And what I mean by that is that when you move and when you bend your knees, and that allows you to connect your feet, that allows you to ground those feet and keep your paddle out there. And then when you're actually making the shot, you can rotate based on using your legs. So you're using your calf muscles, your thighs, you're using your glutes, you're using your core muscles. And that's where our power comes from. It doesn't come from our arms. So I find that a lot of people they want to stand there flat footed. They don't want to have a little bit of a lean to them so they can keep it out in front. And they're not using their legs, they're using their arms to hit the ball. So because of they're using their arms, they have to generate power by swinging over swinging. So that's one of the big things I really want to make sure people understand is we don't need to have big swings. Our swings, our power comes from our legs, and we should be using our legs and keeping our feet grounded and keeping our knees bent so that we can use those big muscles.
And
And if we do that,
that's a problem for us ex-tennis players, or
yes,
because we swing all the way back to hit it, and it's almost like shooting from the hip or something like that. Is that right?
yes, one of the things I like to teach beginners is when you are hitting the ball, that I'm going to stand up and hopefully people can see me when I'm doing this. So I have my paddle here. When I'm turning sideways to hit the ball, I don't want to teach people to go back behind their back hip. So if I'm turned sideways, this is as far back as my paddle is going to go. I'm not going to let them take it clear back here. So I'm going to be here. and not here. And once we start here, then you're driving with your legs, and that allows you to put as much pace as you need to have on your paddle. So really a big clue to what I do and what I teach is to make sure that we aren't, especially 3.0 players. When you're so one of the big things is when you take your paddle back, your paddle goes like this. Now, when you're bringing it through, what are you adding? You're adding timing to the ball. And if you were Patty, you aren't going to get this, but a lot of my colleagues here in America will. There was a guy on TV named Ron Popeil, and Ron had a Ronco company, and he had the Pocket Fisherman, and he had this rotisserie chicken grill. And he would put 5 chickens in this grill. He would slam a lid, and he would say, "It's so easy. All you have to do is 5 words: set it and forget it." That's what I teach in pickleball. So I'm going to tell you to set your paddle where you want it to go, and then all you're doing is pushing with your legs. And
Yeah.
you'll notice my upper body is rotating because my legs are rotating, and that's where your power comes from. So really, really focus on swinging from your legs, not from your arms, and you'll notice that your power will be better, but you'll be swinging easier because you're using the correct muscles.
Yeah, I think sometimes, tell me if I'm wrong, but it's also the knees. You bend down
Yes.
and then lean in and lift up, and then that's part of your core, your knees and your
Yeah.
core.
Well, make sure, and this is a thing. Make sure we are not lifting up. We want to stay down through the swing. So that's another thing I see where people pop up is when they go to get the ball, they'll get down like this. Their heads are down nice. You want
Yeah.
to keep down while you're hitting a drive. And one of the things they do is they bring their whole body up while they're bringing their paddle up. And that, of course, causes the pop ups. So, another clue would be when you're hitting your drives and you're hitting hard shots, is to stay down, keep low
Yeah.
until you make contact, and then you can come up. But
Yeah,
don't
because we
come up
can
while you're
we
doing that.
can we can learn things from other sports. I'm not a golfer. I've dabbled in it, and I was told you just keep that head down. You hit that
Right,
ball, and you keep that head down. So watch the ball onto the and keep
right.
your head down. Yeah,
Yeah, your shoulder will tell you when it's time to come up
yeah.
after you swing. Just the gravity will release your body if you just let it. So don't try to
Okay,
circumvent gravity. Let gravity raise that up for you. Yep.
okay, excellent. Let's move on to number two. A lot of people have problems that not knowing how and when to get to the non-volley zone, to get to the kitchen.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about that, Jeff.
Okay, so if we're serving, we all heard the 3 words serve and stay, right? We always really want to sit there while but we always want to have an appetite for that non-volley zone line. So we've got to figure out a way to get up there, and we don't have to. The way we used to teach is we would move up together. That's still kind of good, but one of the things I teach. So if I serve the ball and it's returned to my opponent, or I'm sorry, return to my partner. As soon as I see it's going to go to my partner, I'm going to take a couple steps in. So we're gonna be kind of like this instead of like this. We're going to be like that. Then if my partner hits it over and they return it to me, my partner's going to move in a couple steps, and we're going to move up kind of like this. So in front of each other. So we're not necessarily moving up at the same time, but we're moving up in close proximity. We just don't want to create big angles. But we always have to have, as soon as we hit the ball, the first thought is that going to be a good shot? Um, I teach high and deep serves, but then
Yeah,
I teach high and deep returns too,
exactly.
because the
Yeah,
higher and deeper that return goes, the more time you have to get up. So
yeah.
ideally, we want to get up to that line because if we're returning the serve, of course, our partner's already up there. If we hit it high and deep, I want to give myself a chance to go out, grab a beer, take a drink, and then go up to the line
Yeah.
and be set for the ball.
Yeah.
So make sure that should be the first thing. It shouldn't even be a thought. It should just be a reaction. Oh, I hit the ball. Hey, that was a good shot. I'm going in.
And I
So
think I suppose communication's quite important here. You know, if if I mean I've played with people in rec play and they just sort of hang too far back, and I'm saying, come on,
Right.
let's get up there, follow me,
Yeah. Well, all you're
So
doing is
I
making yourself
think
a target. Yeah.
yeah,
You're just making
yeah,
yourself a target by doing that.
yeah,
And,
yeah,
and another thing I would tell you is watch your partner. One of the things I played this morning with a guy who was probably a 3-5, but he really didn't know. He would just start. I would hit a ball and he would just start going into the line. And I said, you can't do that. Whoever receives the ball and then makes the shot is in the best determination to say, hey,
yeah,
that was a really good drop, or I hit it to their backhand or whatever. As the non-hitter, I'm going to watch my partner who hit the ball, and if my partner feels like they can go up, I'm going to go up as well. But if he or she hits a bad shot, the last thing I want to be doing is running into the teeth of a lion
yeah.
when they slam it back at me. So be cognizant and let your whoever hits the ball determines when and how far you go up.
Yeah, yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, I've always been an advocate of the deep serve and the deep return. I think that that's almost a default mechanism. I don't know what other people. I see a couple of people think. I always think that's at any level, pretty much so. So that's excellent. Okay. So yeah, because we're always taught to stay together. We're initially taught to stay together, but what you're saying now is that you can sort of be a bit more
I'm
flexible
taking
on
a
that.
couple. I'm saying a couple steps. I'm not. I don't
Yeah,
want you to be 10 feet apart, but realize the transition zone's only 15 feet. So
yeah,
from 22 feet to 7 feet, that's 15 feet. So if you're 2 or 3 feet in front of your partner, it's not going to be a huge difference.
yeah, yeah. Okay, excellent. Thank you. Okay, the third of five challenges. You say that a lot of your pupils, the people whom you help, you say shallow dinking is a bit of an issue.
Yeah.
Well, what is shallow dinking first?
Okay. So they dink for dinking's sake, and they're not dinking with a
Ah,
purpose. So one of the things I find is if they're just hitting a soft shot over the net to get it over the net, and it lands in, and they reach around and pat themselves on the back and said, "Oh, I just did a successful dink." Um, you really didn't accomplish much outside of keeping the ball in play. So at a 3.0 level, I will tell you, I have a friend of mine who says, make them hit it one more time. And I think there's a lot of validity to that in the 3.0
yeah,
arena because a lot of 3.0s are not good dinkers. And especially dinking has gone away. I've changed the way I teach. I used to teach, we used to start with dinking. Now I teach, here's how we construct a point. Here's how we serve. Here's how we return. Here's how we get up to the non-volley zone. And then I teach dinking after that because it's still important. But I find none of the beginners or 3.0s that they want to hit the ball as hard as possible. With these new aggressive paddles and the top spin that some of these tennis players are coming in with, dinking has become, it's still an art, but you can't dink just to dink.
yeah,
You have to have a purpose. So I
yeah,
want to see people dink it deep dinking. I want to be dinking at my opponent's feet. I want to try to go after their shoelaces. I want to
yeah,
hit it to their backhand. I want to make them reach for the ball. I don't want them standing in a standard position. So don't just dink to dink. Start looking at how do I move my opponents around? How do I create an opening when I'm dinking? Because that's the whole idea. A lot of 3.0s do not move well together. We want to see a movement
yeah,
like this. And there's a thing called shading that you really got to look into. So when I hit a cross court dink, if I'm on the right side and hit a cross court dink to the extreme left, my partner should go to the line and I should go to the middle.
yeah.
So we've got to know where we're supposed to be, and we've got to hit shots that create those opportunities because then I'm creating a lot of pressure for that person to make a
Yeah.
really good swing. So dink
It's
with a purpose.
it's interesting. You're talking about sort of dinking, sort of forever dinking, if you want. Um, because I remember when I first started, I've been playing about 18 months now. And I read somewhere that especially as seniors, we got patience. We got patience. So if you're reasonably good at dinking, just basically keep it going until the other lot, especially if they're a little younger than us, just run out of patience because we can just like completely um get into their heads.
Well,
Um
the problem I find with that is sometimes is that it doesn't take much height. If you miss a dink high, it doesn't take much for these younger people to just cream you.
yeah,
So
yeah,
unless you're exceedingly good at thinking and can keep it low and can get your feet, one of the big things I see is people reaching for the ball too much instead of moving their feet and getting in those positions. So if you
yeah,
watch the pros, they have a lot of micro movements. They just
yeah,
they might move 6 inches to the left, and you think, well, what did they move 6 inches to the left?
yeah,
There's a reason.
yeah,
They want to be in the position, not a position to dink
yeah.
and return that.
Steve, you got a question?
I do. Jeff, I play a lot in round robins,
Yep.
and I'm constantly switching partners. I
I
don't know
same here.
many of the people I'm playing with. So a lot of what you're talking about refers to coordination with your partner. But I get partners who know that you're supposed to have an imaginary string attached. One moves to one side, person moves with you. Then I have other partners who just stay all the way back. And in the spur of the moment, you can't start coaching your partner. Also, it can be offensive because I'm about a 3, maybe a little higher, and I'm not that much better, and I'm not as good as some other partners. So, how do you deal with situations like that?
I
Hmm.
don't have a
Yeah.
problem telling someone that, hey, how about we really try to get up to the line? I mean, I'd like to say I don't like to coach, but that just comes out of me because that's all I do. I don't. I play a lot of rec play. I don't play in many tournaments anymore because I really like to focus on teaching. But one of the things that I will do, the other nice thing is people around here know me. They know I'm a coach, and they will ask me, "Hey, if you see something I'm doing, go ahead and let me know." But yeah, it's hard. If you're just nice and you nudge them a little bit, but in the end, if you're playing round robin, you can't control what your partner's doing.
I mean,
So
I do the same, Steve, but I don't know. I wrap it up in a light joke or something. I
right,
try I make it light, I don't
yep.
I don't coach. I kind of say, hey, look, why don't we just try getting up a bit further to the net? Come on, come with me. Let's go to see what happens. I
And
just
another,
try and because obviously we've all been there when someone said, look, come on, well, this is what you got to do. I think a
yep.
lot of it, honestly, is to do with tone and it's to do with how you ask people. You don't tell people, you just sort of suggest it and ask it. I don't know. Have you tried that kind of tactic, Steve, in rec
Um,
play?
yeah, I'm a little reluctant to do that because I don't know the person. I don't know how it's going to be
Yeah.
received. But sometimes I find myself I'm up at the line and I look, my partner's all the way in the back and they're just dropping it in front of her. And
Right.
Yeah.
So Steve, what I would tell you is coach. And if your partner says, well, why are you coming over into my court? I would just politely say, because you're not here. And that's where they're hitting the ball. So, I would, if you want to come up and play, I will stay over here. But one of the things I'm doing is making sure
Yeah.
that I'm trying to win the point. Whoop, I just dropped my ear point. What I'm trying to do is make sure we win the point.
mm,
And that's what we're here for. So I will go more towards the middle.
mm,
I'm still pretty fast, so I can get back to my side where I need to, but I will favor that middle. And I'll make them if they say anything, I'll just politely say, well, that's where they're hitting the ball, and if you're
mm.
back there, you're not going to be able to get it, and maybe that will open their eyes to say, oh,
Yeah.
well, maybe I ought to be up closer.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think this is a big, I think it's quite a big issue at this kind of level, especially in rec play, because you do come across all kinds of people, I guess, and but for all different types of people and ages and everything else and abilities. So I think most pickleball players are pretty nice people, and I think just be nice and just try and encourage. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
What does
I
anyone
can.
else think?
Mhm.
I like to coach partners. That's one of the things. I have a class where I coach partners, and that's what I'll work on. I'll hit to them, and make sure they're moving correctly. I'll aggressively start dinking and making sure they're moving together, making sure they're covering the areas they're supposed to do. But you're right, Steve. In round robin, it's flip a coin as to who you get. Now, playing at 4-5 and up towards 5-0, all the people I play with pretty much know what they're supposed to do. So it's a little easier there. But as a 3.0, and this is the thing, I just encourage people, whether it's me or anybody else, take lessons, because there's so much knowledge out there that, I have people that just go out there and play, and they've been playing for 5 years, and they're stuck at 3.0, or they get up to 3.25 and they can't go any further. And if they're not, if they're hitting the ball wrong, they're not using their legs, they're not getting up to the line properly, they don't know how to move back and forth and what areas to cover. Those are all things certified coaches can fix.
Yeah.
So that would be another thing, is to maybe at your rec center, you know, have a find a certified coach in your area, and for one month, once a month, have that person come in and do an hour and a half clinic for 3.0s, and then another hour and a half clinic for 3.5s, and just bring knowledge to
I
that.
heard I heard a good thing. I don't know what it's called, is when you have a four and one of them is the coach. And
Yeah,
you
yeah.
play,
We do
and then
play with the pro. Yeah,
yeah,
Yeah.
yep,
and then
mhm,
as you play your set, sorry, I still
yep,
call them sets, come from
yep.
tennis. Then the pro will say, look, actually, try doing this,
Right.
and you did that really well, but maybe try this time. And I can imagine that working really well.
Yeah, I run something called an instructional ladder league. So I will get, I won't take any more than 10 people, and I can rotate one person out in each group. So if I get, and I can watch two courts very easily.
Yeah,
So what
yeah,
I'll
yeah,
do is I'll be in the middle of those two courts, and I'll be watching. When a point stops, I'll go out and say, okay, here's why that didn't work. And here's what you need to do. You should have been here. Okay. And
yeah.
you had your paddle
Yeah,
back,
I can,
that,
I can imagine that working quite well because everyone wants to play.
right.
I
That's,
hate
that's
drilling.
right.
Who wants
I
to
have them
drill?
for, I give them lessons for 4 weeks, and I say, we're going to do a league, and
Yeah, yeah,
I'm going to coach you as you play. Cause you're right. Everybody wants to play.
yeah, yeah. Okay, let's move on. But
Yep.
guys, if you've got any questions, please bear them in mind because we're going to go to Q&As quite soon. So a lot of people are just hitting the ball hard.
Right.
They're just going hell for leather.
Right.
And this is obviously an issue.
Yeah. So one of the things I'm working on myself is trying to keep control wherever I'm at, especially in the transition zone. So I'm working on, I call it 75-50-25. This isn't something I made up. I found it through another coach, but I'm really working on it hard for myself. So depending on where I'm at in the transition zone, depends on where my paddle, how far back my paddle's going to go. So I'm going to stand up again. So if I'm at I'll go this way. So if I'm standing here like this and my paddle's out in front of me, which it should always be, if I'm back in the deep part of the transition zone, I'm going to allow my paddle to go back to 75. 100 would be straight back, 50 is straight across. So
Okay.
I'm going to allow my paddle to go back to 75. And then I can hit it pretty much as hard as I want to if I can put some topspin on it. And when I hit that, I know it's not going to be as hard as I want it to be, but I know if they miss it, it's not going to go out of bounds because I'm not hitting it with the speed that I would hit it at if I had it 100%. So if I'm in the middle of the transition zone, it's right level with my hips. So my paddle is right here where my hips are. And if I'm in the front part of the transition zone, my paddle moves to 25. So it's always out in front of me. So even if I swing as hard as I want, it's chances are I'm not going to hit it out of bounds. I just see people just trying to crank it when they shouldn't. And we got to think about angles. Everybody thinks about the angles that are horizontal angles, but what I'm talking about is vertical angles. So the lower the ball is and the closer to the net it is, the more of an angle you have to hit. Well, if you hit it hard, if it goes over the net, chances are it's going to go out of bounds.
Yeah.
Unless you hit somebody. And so we've really got to watch and be on the safer side, because once you hit the net, that's it. The point is over. If you hit it over and you hit it a little bit high, you still have a chance to recover if they have hit a high ball. But if it hits the net, it's dead. So use caution when you're hitting it hard. If it's above your hips and you have a really good shot at it, go ahead and take it. But I think far too many people are, and me included, sometimes I get in a funk where I think I can hit it's 2 inches off the ground. And I think, oh, I can hit this at 100%. I'm at least 10 feet from the net. And I hit the net and I just shake my head at myself and say, boy, you need to coach yourself instead of coaching other people. So but don't, this placement over power. I don't know if you've heard that saying. That's something I use all the time. It's much better if you can hit it cross court to somebody's backhand than to try to slam it down somebody's throat when the angle isn't there. So just be careful that you're not giving away points by over hitting the ball.
I think that's a very good point you've just made. In that, I come from tennis background, and we're just taught consistency, consistency, consistency. And in a pickleball game, it's only 11 points, and you give away a point. You slam it, and you lose control, and it goes out or past the sidelines. It's kind of you just lost that point for no reason. So it's almost better to sort of, as you say, place it purposefully and then win it on the next one if they get it back. Is that part of what you're trying to say here?
Yes, I think that's very accurate. Don't beat yourself. If your opponent hits a great shot and they win, it's sometimes, some people say, well, what did I do wrong there? I lost that point. Sometimes people just hit good shots. And sometimes it isn't your fault. You didn't do anything wrong. Your partner may have given them a ball a little higher, and they may have taken advantage of it and just hit a cross court winner. And you just sit there and go, okay, that was a good shot. I'm not going to win every point. I'm not out to blank, to pickle anybody 11-0. I'm out to, I want to make the most within that point.
But also at this level, at 3.0, I'd be really interested to know, and maybe you guys can help me out here. How many points do you reckon people actually win, and how many points, out of 11, that people make a mistake and give it away?
I'm going to say four points a win, 7 points giving it away.
Yeah. Is that everyone's? Cheryl's nodding. Yeah. So definitely at this level, I mean, I think, senior pickleball tips is about going up to about 4.0. We don't really go beyond that too much. And so I think from 2.0 to 4.0, I would say, coming from a tennis background, you will win far more points from other people's probably quite simple errors than you putting it away. So it's a matter of, and we're seniors, so we're pretty good at being patient, getting the ball back. I would say purposefully if you can, rather than just get it back. I mean, if you're a 3.0, you should be able to sort of place it, into not into the very corners, but certainly within a couple of feet of the corner. And then wait for them either to make a mistake or pop it up that you can then definitely put it away. Maybe I'm wrong. Do you guys sort of agree with that, or am I way off?
I have a question real quick.
Go.
I tend to pop it up and obviously give them the chance to slam it. So how do I, when the ball is low, how do I get it over the net without popping it up?
Okay, good
Good
question.
question. Really good question.
One of the things I teach is I teach reach with your knees. So what that means is that your paddle will move with your knees. So when I have my paddle, the closer you are to the kitchen, the higher you want to keep your paddle. You want to keep it about where your chest bone is. But when a low ball comes across the net and you're dinking, you have to go down with your knees. You don't want to lean forward. So if I'm standing here like this, I don't want to do this. I don't want to lean forward. I want to bend my knees so that I'm going down. If you can see me, my shoulders are staying right over top of my knees and staying right over top of my heels and feet. So when we collapse, we want to collapse straight down. We don't want to lean like this. A lot of times when we do that, when we lean like that, then we have to reach. And what are we going to be, if we're reaching for it, what are we going to be hitting with? If our legs are already locked in place and we're already bent down, what are we using to hit the ball with? Our wrist. What's our wrist doing? Wrist is flipping that ball straight up in the air. So that's one of the big things I see is from beginners and intermediates is I see them flicking the ball with their wrist like that. And as you know, when you're dinking, you really want to keep that wrist locked. You want, so that gets us to the second point. And the second point is your grip. So if your grip is too tight, your paddle is going to flex straight out. So what I mean by that is if I'm standing here like this, and I have my paddle straight out and I'm gripping it at a 10, as I relax that grip, my paddle will start to sag because my wrist is staying firm, but the grip is allowing my paddle to sag. And now I can push it straight at my target rather than scoop it up like that. So this is what we see, and this is what we should see. We should see that paddle going straight at your target, not going up. The last thing I will tell you is when people get down to dink, as they come up, their body rises. Well, what's happening when the body's rising? The paddle's rising too. So stay down, make the shot, and then let your body come up then. So it's probably one of those three areas that you're failing at. If you're bending straight over, you're using your wrist. If you're not reaching down with your knees, and if you reach down with your knees, you'll be under the ball. And now all you have to do is push that ball. So I want you to think about the word at or push. So I want you to think about pushing the ball and keeping that paddle angle exactly where it's supposed to be, nice and straight, instead of this, instead of scooping. That happens a lot too. I see a lot of people, they try to put spin on it and they end up scooping the ball, and then that sends it high too. So it's one of those things. Loosen your grip, keep your knees low, let your body come up with your knees instead of coming up by itself. Does that make sense?
How is that, Gail? Did you get some benefit from that?
Yes. And that's what I do. I lean over to get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Thank you.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay, brilliant. Well, let's move on to the fifth challenge that Jeff highlighted to me before we started this call. A lot of people, they take the balls too late.
Right. So this is so important that we keep our paddle out in front of us. Especially at the net. So what I see is people sitting at the net, and this will look familiar to a lot of you. You're sitting there and you're holding the paddle like this.
Yeah.
Instead of like this. We want to have that paddle as far away from your chest as possible. And we want to be able to take the ball out of the air so we can flick it at back. What a lot of people will do, even if they have their paddle out here, the ball's coming to them, they're bringing their paddle back, and then they're pushing their paddle back out. So I have a saying, what happens in the kitchen stays in the kitchen. which means once your paddle gets out over the non-volley zone line, I don't want that paddle coming back past that. And unless somebody hits a lob over your head, there is no reason for you to bring your paddle back past that kitchen line. And if you think about that and use that as a strategy, you will start to understand that you want to take every ball as early as possible. Time is currency in pickleball. So if somebody hits a ball high to me, and I can get out there and flick it a second before it comes back further to me, I can catch them unawares. Whereas if I wait for the ball to come back, now I have to push it out, and I have to trust that I can push it out properly. Whereas if I'm out here, all I have to do is do this, just push with my forearm, and I can make a crisper shot. When I'm out towards the net, I can hit better angles. I can hit it down to the corner more. As it comes back further and further, it gets further and further away from the net. It takes angle away from me. So pickleball is a game of real estate. It's about taking real estate and giving real estate. So what we want to do is we want to take the real estate away from our opponents, and we want to gain real estate for ourselves. So as we're up at that non-volley zone, we have 140 square feet in front of us. That's all we have to protect. If we can move them back, they have to protect 440 square feet. That's the size of their side. So we are in a real estate market where we can really do some damage there. But if we keep our hand and our paddles out in front and we take things early, it even gives us more leverage to do that. Does that make sense to everybody?
Mhm.
Jeff, how is, when you have your paddle out in front of you as you're describing, how is it angled?
Okay, so that's a bit of a controversy. I am a big believer in tracking. So when I'm standing up here, my paddle is wherever the ball is. My feet, my chest, and my paddle are right where that ball is. So if I hit it across to my opponent, I'm looking right like this. And if I hit a backhand over there, excuse me, if I hit a backhand over there, I'm going to change my position so that my feet and my chest and my paddle are right there. I have a video on my site, Limitless Pickleball, and it's a clock video. And what it'll do is it'll teach you, you have a 12 o'clock, you have a clock around you where your feet are. That is where the hands emanate from. So what you do is you want to be at 12 o'clock where the ball is at all times, because then you can hit the ball at 1 o'clock, 12 o'clock, or 11 o'clock. And you'll always keep it right where you should have so you're not taking it late, you're not taking it, and you want to keep it out in front of you at all times. So if you look at that clock video, that will solve a lot of problems, I think. Now, some people like to hold their paddle in a biased position on backhand. If it's pointing at 11 o'clock or 10:30, I don't have a big deal with that because we can cover more court with our backhand. Our forehand stops when we get to our stomach, but our backhand can go clear across. And I've hit shots, clear out here to the right with my backhand if I have to. But as a rule, I like to keep it pointing at right where the ball is. That way, if it comes at me fast, I can just change very quickly using my wrist and block it where I need to block it. That's me.
Steve, does that answer your question? You asking about the angle of the paddle? Is that?
Somewhat. I have some issues sometimes if I'm up at the net, and I have my paddle out in front and I'm returning a relatively hard shot. I sometimes have trouble figuring out what angle my paddle should be at. If it's a little too low, it goes into the net. If it's a little too high, it's coming back too high. If it's a slow shot, I can dink it into the kitchen, but if it's a faster shot, it bounces too far.
Yeah.
So all I'm doing is if my paddle, I kind of keep my paddle at about a 45-degree angle when it's at the net. So all I'm doing when I'm doing that, if it's coming fast at me to the backhand, all I'm doing is turning, and I'm keeping this as an arc. So it's just turning here, or if it's forehand, turning here. So it's just a matter of twisting your.
So in terms of angle of your paddle, it's almost vertical.
almost vertical. I mean, and here's the other thing. If it's this far away from my body, so I'm talking 2.5 to 3 feet. That means I'm only 4 feet from the net
Yeah.
when my paddle's out here. So I don't have to worry so much about angle because my paddle's so far out in front. Now, if my paddle's here, I'm 6 feet away from the net or 7 feet away from the net. And now angle comes in more, it becomes more of an issue. And the last thing we want to do is hit it into the net or chip it up like this. So Steve, one of the things I'll tell you to do, if you're trying to hit it back, this is why I really advocate it being way out in front like this, because then we're going to use our butt and we're going to as we push forward with our paddle, we're going to push backwards with our butt. And what that will do, instead of your paddle going out like this when you swing, if you keep it locked in place like this and you push with your butt, if you can stand up and do that, you'll notice you'll stay in balance. So what I see from a lot of people is they just reach out like this, but when they reach out, their paddle goes like that. And it'll go to the right. And if you're on the right side, it'll go out of bounds. But if you can use your butt and push it forward like that, you're going to be much better off. So think about I call it a tush push when I teach.
But sometimes though, you just want to have the paddle out and just let the ball hit the paddle and go back.
If it's hit really hard, yes. It depends on what you're trying to do, Steve, because if you're trying to, I just put a video out in Limitless Pickleball. It was out 2 days ago. And I talk about different volleys. So I talk about doing a roll volley. I talk about a chip volley. So if you're trying to do a chip volley and you're just trying to drop it right on their other side, that's one thing. What I try to do is if they're back, I want to keep them back. So this is a really important thing. I'm going to tell you the people who are at the line win the points 70 to 75% of the time. The people who are back at the baseline lose the point 70 to 75%.
But in terms of being at the net, obviously there's lots of what if the ball's high, how hard it's, but for me the default is really keep it vertical and keep your hands quite soft. Yeah, and you generally can't go too wrong.
Right. I like that, but yeah, you want to push it. I drill pushing that thing. I'm trying to drop it 2 feet from the baseline. I want to keep them pinned back.
Yeah.
Eventually, they will make a mistake before I will.
Yeah, but you're a 5.0.
Well, so are they, unfortunately. So that's the problem.
We're not 5.0s over here, Jeff. One day, who knows? Okay, absolutely brilliant, Jeff. Thanks so much. Right, guys, we've got about 13 or 14 minutes left. So we're opening. I mean, we've been having a question and answer session. It's just happened naturally, which has been really nice. But please, if anyone got any questions, Cheryl, you've been quiet so far. Anything, anything from you? Anything at all?
I mean, I just wanted to say sorry I was late to the meeting. First of all, I was out hiking. I thought I could get it on my phone. Anyway, I just really, I think the questions that Gail and Steve both asked are both problems that I have. So Jeff did a great job of answering both of those. So, I mean, honestly, I don't really have anything else. I mean, These are all great tips. Great tips.
Good. Excellent. Yeah, Stephen, have you got anything?
I struggle with following the ball into my paddle. I have a tendency to either look away or something, but I either maybe swing and miss it entirely, or what's the occasion, or offset or hit. Okay. So how can I focus more?
All right, so you really want to watch the ball all the way into your paddle. One of the things I see is people getting, and Patty just talked about, we as seniors have patience. Some do not. Sometimes I'm one of those people that doesn't have patience. But I want to watch the ball all the way into my paddle. And what I see from people who miss balls or who hit it, instead they'll hit it on the top or on the side or on the bottom. What they're doing is at the last second, their head will come up.
Yeah.
So their head will come up like, oh, okay, where am I going to hit the ball to? And when that head comes up, it has a direct correlation with what happens with your paddle. So if you're here waiting for the ball and your head is down, as soon as I bring my head up, what just happened to my paddle?
Yeah.
I just changed the angle of my paddle. So really watch. If you're missing the ball, I'm not sure what you're doing. You shouldn't be missing the ball. But if you watch it into your paddle, and as it hits, once you've hit it, then you can come up. But what I see early is this. And when you bring your head and shoulders up, then that's when we create the problem of miss hit. So if you're getting a lot of clunky sounding things on I'll bet that's what you're doing. And you want to stay, and this is one of the big things I've really started teaching recently, is staying down and through the shot. Instead of, as we hit the shot, we have a natural tendency to come up. Patty talked about golf. It's the same way. When we hit the golf ball, one of the things, as soon as we hit the golf ball, we think, okay, we've hit the golf ball. Well, unfortunately, you haven't. That golf ball will stay on the club for a second after you hit it. And if you're coming up or you're going out or you're going to the side, what's happening? The ball is going to change trajectory for you. So watch it into your paddle the whole way. But again, if you keep that paddle, Stephen, what I want you to work on is if you keep that paddle out in front of you, you will see the ball coming into your paddle. If your paddle is too close to your body, you won't see it. Your head will be down.
True.
And then when you hit it, your paddle and your hands and your paddle comes up. So
this
I would really work on that.
I think this is an issue for everyone.
It is.
Everyone has, sorry, the dog's barking. Everyone has this issue. Sometimes it's a physical thing, like your glasses aren't quite right, or personally, I'm colorblind. If I'm playing with a yellow ball on a basketball court surface, for the last nanosecond, I just don't see the bloody thing. So first of all, check out the physical aspects. Are your glasses good? Is it too bright? Should you have sunglasses? Should you wear a hat? Check that out first. But then it's this is my advice. Just watch the bloody ball. It is really easy to just be distracted. And so many times I've come in for a volley, tennis, pickleball, and I just take my eyes off it just for a nanosecond and it just goes crazy. And we all do it. One thing I used to do in tennis, which I do a bit in pickleball now, especially on receiving the ball, is I crouch down. I crouch down a little bit. And I find that just gets me a bit ready. And I'm really focused. Okay, that ball's coming now. I got to really keep an eye on it.
Well, and the other thing, what did you just accomplish by crouching down? What physically changed? You involved your knees. You got your knees. I tell people when you're in back, when you are back at the baseline, your paddle should be lower. When you're at the net, your paddle should be around chest height because you're trying to protect your face and somebody hits a speed up, you want to be able to have that paddle up front here. But as you get further and further back, your paddle should get lower and lower. Well, if your paddle gets lower and lower, and I teach reach with your knees should be lower. So as your knees get lower, your paddle gets lower. And you want to think when you're back on that baseline, you want to think like you're sitting on a stool, because that really engages your quad muscles and your calf muscles. And
excellent.
So
very good. We've got about 8 minutes. Connie and Laurie, we've not heard from you. Have you got any questions or anything for Coach Jeff, myself, or indeed anyone else?
I definitely. Oh, go ahead.
Hi, this is Connie. I'm sorry I can't be on video, but I'm sort of multitasking right now.
That's okay.
This is very helpful. So many of the things you've touched on are also things that are challenges for me. But I also have what they call happy feet, where it's like, I kind of want to run into the ball. It's just always difficult for me to judge where it is going to land. And so a lot of times I'm moving while I'm hitting the ball. So I appreciate any advice along those lines.
Okay, so Patty will get along with this because he's a tennis player, but we do, and I played high school and college tennis, but I hadn't played tennis in 40 years since I got out of college. But we do a thing called a split step. So one of the things I find myself once I hit the ball, I'm watching my opponent, and when their paddle goes back, and they're ready to hit the ball, I stop, I get a wide base, and I get low. So if I'm halfway up in the transitions and I hit a shot and it's a relatively weak shot and I see a paddle go, as soon as I see their paddle go up, I'm stopping, I'm getting down. And here's the thing: if you watch, if you go to Limitless Pickleball and look at the clock video, one of the things it gets you to point your paddle right at the ball. It gets your chest and your shoulders and your feet. Everything's looking right where the ball's coming from. So you're not standing sideways to where the ball is coming from. You're standing right on it, and your paddle's out in front of you. So really watch yourself. As soon as you see that ball, some teachers teach as soon as it goes across the net to your opponents, you should stop. I think that's a bit premature. I think once it bounces or once you see their paddle go back to hit the ball, you should be able to stop and focus on where is the ball coming from. And if it comes to you, once you're stopped like that, you can move laterally. The problem, Lori, is when you, or Connie, whoever asked that, was when you're constantly moving forward, you can't go sideways because your momentum is taking you forward.
Right. So Connie, check out Limitless Pickleball and Coach Jeff and others, no doubt, on YouTube about the split step. Everyone can do it. It's quite an easy thing to do, and it kind of settles everything down. Now I know that we've got 5 minutes to go. Laurie, you had a question, I think.
Yeah, I do. So I want to revisit court positioning just a little bit in the transition area. So if my partner serves and the return is clearly coming back to them, I have been, I'll say, aggressively seeking to go up to the non-volley zone, right? So all the way up to the line of the kitchen. Is that the right thing to do or no? Because
No.
that's what
So
I've heard you say. So
it's all based on the quality of the shot that your partner can return. So what I like to teach is whoever hits the ball, whoever receives the ball, is going to be able to tell how good of a return shot they hit. Now, I have a guy that I play with who hits third shot drops. You could put 4 quarters out there in the non-volley zone, and he could hit all 4 quarters with a drop shot. If it's coming back to him, I know he's going to hit a drop shot. I'm going to go all the way up to the non-volley zone. As soon as he hits, he's going to go all the way up to the non-volley zone because he's like a 90% dropper. But if you don't know that person, if you're playing with somebody, and at 3.0, our drop skills are not as good as they could be. So I would wait to see. What I teach is the person who makes the shot is the person who determines if and how far you go in.
Yeah.
So in other words, if I hit a perfect, and when we're hitting drop shots, by the way, all we're looking for is our opponent to get that paddle below the net. So if the net's here and their paddle is up here, I know they can hit it pretty much full speed. The last thing I want to be doing is going in there, or if I'm already in there, guess where they're going to hit it? They're going to hit it right smack at me because I'm standing there like a doofus, So make sure when you're going in that you wait for your opponent. Once you hit that shot, and as soon as they hit that shot, if they know it's a good shot and they start going in, you go in with them.
And it's very much, I guess, there is that you go in together. You're kind of that piece of string, that should be, so you go side to side together. And
now I don't have a problem.
Generally speaking, at this level,
I don't have a problem if you go in take 2 steps in. If it's coming back to your partner and you take 2 steps in, I think that's fine. I think that's probably a good move. But to go all the way in without knowing the quality of the shot that they make and knowing where it's going to come back, then I think that's precipitous. You don't want to do that.
That's
one of the things also I will tell you is we have seesaw. We teach seesaw. So if your partner hits a high ball and you see their paddle coming up here, think about a seesaw. A seesaw at level is like this. If their paddle is back here, where should your paddle be? Down.
Lower.
Okay.
Mhm.
So think about a seesaw. If you see their paddle going up high, just put your paddle down. You can always pull it back up. But one of the problems we see is if they're hitting a drive and they're hitting it down at you, it's really hard to get your paddle down and get it in position to make a good return.
Yeah.
So I will
absolutely.
tell you that if you are running in, make sure if their paddle's high, you get your paddle down and you do that split
Yeah.
step like Patty and I
Okay.
were talking about.
Mhm.
Cheryl.
I just had one quick question about these Zooms. I missed the beginners one. I couldn't get on that day. I had something else going on. But are you going to keep doing these? Like, are you going to repeat like maybe some beginner and some low intermediate going forward
Yeah, we are. Well,
at a certain time down the
we
road?
are. We
Okay.
are. I mean, at the moment, we're thinking of possibly weekly ones, but they might go fortnightly. But yes, they will become regular ones, and the recordings will be available at some point.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah,
Perfect.
yeah.
Thank you.
You have
Yeah.
time for one more quick question?
Yeah, we do. But before that, what I'm going to do is this. Jeff, can you hang on for another 10 minutes or not?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay, so what we're going to do is that I'm going to wrap this up and stop the recording. And then anyone who wants to stay on for 10 or 15 minutes, please do so, yeah? Because the hour's up now and I'm conscious that some people have got to go and what have you and some, busy lives and that.
Yeah, I'm good.
So let me wrap this up. Now, one thing I wanted to say without bragging, here's my medal.
Woo!
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So this is the National English Singles title for 65 plus 3.0. And I got the
Attaboy.
gold.
Attaboy.
I don't want to be braggy, but I thought, what the hell. And the
Brag
other
away.
thing, the other thing, thanks, Laurie. The other thing is go to and see Coach Jeff on Limitless Pickleball on YouTube. And I just ask you two favors, please, as participants. One, if you feel you're able to, please go to the group and say how absolutely amazeballs these Zoom calls are. That would be great. And secondly, at some point, if you'd go to the new website, seniorpickleballtips.com, that would be great. Just go and pay it a visit and have a little look. So listen, thank you, everyone. But if any of you want to stay on, that would be great. But I'm going to stop the recording now. But thank you. Okay, everyone say goodbye.
Thank you so much.